Greetings, everyone. This is Dr. Joseph Bryant Jr., National Sports Director for the Rainbow Push Coalition. And we have been spending this year celebrating women in sports. We have had an entire year of truly giving women the appropriate honor, recognition, voice, value that they deserve. So oftentimes our male-dominated sports world takes up all of our time and attention, and we fail to realize the power of women, the ones that are involved in the sport on and off the field of play. And today, again, we're so grateful. The NBA has had the benefit of a 20-year journey of an amazing woman, and I'm grateful for the way she has supported and partnered with Reverend Jackson and Rainbow Push over the years. Kathy Behrens, who is the president of social responsibility and player programs for the NBA. She is one that has truly been a champion in the sport. And as a woman, we just thank you so much for what you represent, and to all the young women that are coming up behind you, showing them a way to engage in sports in significance. Thank you, Kathy, for just being there, not only a presence, but an impact agent. You have been amazing. Thank you for taking the time with us today.
Well, that's very generous of you. Thank you, Dr. Bryant. It's great to be with you. It's great to partner with Rainbow Push. It's great to consider Reverend Jackson a friend and a partner on this work. So thank you. I appreciate all those nice words. Thank you so much.
We have received so many inquiries over the past couple of years as, voices have been used to continue to push the issues of equality. A lot of people know that we have supported the WNBA publicly and consistently. We do a lot of work around women's youth sports. And so this has been a really good year and a half for us to do even more to celebrate women in sports. How do you think about your role and your place as a woman in the male-dominated world of the NBA and in NBA executive positions? How does that sit with you? How do you see your place as a beacon, as a light, as a trailblazer? How do you internalize that as you kind of navigate your role and think about the impact that you have?
Yeah, I will say I don't think about it all that much because, I'm not alone. I've been at the league office for 20 years. When I got to the NBA, we had 4 years earlier launched the WNBA. So I was surrounded by both the fantastic on-court women from the WNBA, but also at the league office, whether it was Val Ackerman, who was the original president of the WNBA, still a friend and colleague, now the Big East commissioner. But always at the league office, there were David Stern, Adam Silver, fully supporting and believing in the opportunities for women to play, not only again play on the court, but to play in senior levels at the league office with our teams. So I never felt like I was having to blaze a trail because there were others who blazed it before me, and I was kind of following in their footsteps. But I recognize that one of the things that, when you think about the world of sports, I think we have started to create so many different opportunities. And so I love that now you have women who are coaching in the NBA, former WNBA players, whether it's Becky Hammon, Ednisha Curry, just joining Chauncey Billups' staff in Portland. Thrilled about that. So it's all levels. I think that's one of the things I've really enjoyed watching the last couple of years, is that it's now more women having an opportunity on the basketball side. So many of my colleagues, Allison Feaster, another woman I would highlight, who I think could probably be the first female GM in our league. She's a senior executive now at the Boston Celtics. Becky Bonner, another one with the Orlando Magic. So all sorts of different roles. Obviously, people know about Sid Marshall at the Dallas Mavericks. So it's business, it's basketball, it's the league office, it's with our teams, it's with our partners. There's no trailblazing that I've done. I've really been fortunate enough to work with so many fantastic women, but to also make sure that the men who run our league, and they do, our commissioners have always been men, but they make sure that there's room at the table. And that the voices of many diverse candidates and diverse people are heard at every level of our business, and so that makes it more fun. makes it more challenging, but it certainly makes it more satisfying to know that's, we're surrounded by, I think, the best and brightest,
Sure.
and everybody's got an opportunity.
Thank you for mentioning all those amazing women that have these fantastic roles in the league. And one of the things and I appreciate your humility, even as you view your own role. You've had such a great career and a great impact. And because you're involved in sports, I would love for you to share just a little bit about how you view the other sports. The NBA, as you mentioned, has done a pretty good job, relatively speaking. They've always been on the front lines of social justice issues, always been on the front lines of inclusion, very proactive in allowing voices to be heard and value to be assessed. But that doesn't happen in every sport, nor does it happen across the boards in terms of equal pay or equal opportunities for sponsorships or equal support. What are your thoughts about how we can do more as a society, as fans, even for Rainbow Push as an advocacy group? What can we do to make sure that the needle is being moved more consistently, so that there can be more opportunities and more doors open for women to be involved in sports?
It's a great question, Dr. Bryant. I like the way you framed it as, it's not just the lane of sports. When you think about the sports world, we touch every industry, truthfully. And so making sure that these issues are talked about, that we're not afraid to have difficult conversations, whether those are conversations around race or those are conversations around gender equity. I think it's incredibly important that we expect more. We sort of have an expectation that it's not it's not isolated, that women are leading organizations or women are playing sports or serving as CEOs or serving as the Speaker of the House or serving as the Vice President of the United States. I mean,
That's
that the fact that that Vice President Harris is the first woman vice president is sort of like, on the one hand, amazing and fantastic, and we love her. And have been able to work with her on a lot of projects over the years, but it's disappointing that it took so long. And so it's just sort of not settling and not believing that, oh, well, now we've got one, that's good enough. We've got to have many more. When you look at the list of Fortune 100 or Fortune 500 CEOs, there have to be more. There have to be more women of color. There have to be more men of color. There have to be more people of diverse backgrounds in those roles. And we have to continue to, I think, call that out and have that expectation, and then create opportunities along the way. You don't just wake up one morning and get to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Somebody's got to give you that chance along the way to grow and to thrive and to make an impact. So I just want to see more of that in every level of our society,
And you talk about the path to get there. You don't, kind of show up at the door of day one and say, I want to be the GM of a team. There is a path. There are roles. There are open doors that have to be made. As president of social responsibility, how do you think about making opportunities real, ongoing? And this is partly out of a conversation I had with the sports media folks that we've interviewed recently. Talk about how you view opening the door so this process can begin.
Well, I'll talk about it as it relates to why we felt it was so important when we started the MBA Foundation, that we had that as the mission, because because we have to do that. We have to be intentional about creating those opportunities and about building the pipeline and helping people, especially young people of color, develop those skills and have access to those opportunities. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, it's there's not a full-time role, but there's an internship. Well, you have to pay people if you want to create diversity in your internship pool.
Yes.
You have to create opportunities for people who aren't so-called connected. And so you've got to make sure that you're being, we talk about this all the time. We have to be intentional about this work. Diversity and inclusion, as important as it is, you can't just say, oh yeah, everybody wants to work at the NBA. Wouldn't that be great? Of course everybody does. But if you don't find and create opportunities, it's one of the things we're working so much more closely with our partners in the HBCU community. In the last year, we used our All-Star game last year to highlight, elevate, and tell those stories, but also to create opportunities. We have a long-standing partnership with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. So you just have to be intentional. You can't just sort of say, oh, well, everybody wants to work here, so we'll get the best and the brightest. You've got to find the best and the brightest, because they don't always get access to those opportunities. And if you're not creating that access, and if you're not encouraging that access, and if you're not giving people the skills they need to then be successful when they have it, that's the thing our foundation is really working on. I think that to me is critical. You can't just expect it. You've got to be intentional, and you've got to be really focused on that work. Super important.
Reverend Jackson often says that it's not a talent deficit, it's an opportunity deficit.
Leave it to him to say it better than I just did.
and because of that, I think, as we wrap up this segment, I have a daughter that I'm so proud of, and I'm thankful for the opportunities I've been able to afford to her. And one of the things that we've done with a lot of our families that we work with, sports families and pro athletes and executives, working with, their daughters and one of the things I always want to do is to have women speak into their lives. That even in sports and oftentimes entertainment and other industries where the male dominance is so prevalent, that sometimes it's not just the access to it is a huge piece, but to hear from someone like Kathy Behrens, who can say, you can do this. Give the either the younger you or a younger student, high school student, college student, some young person that's looking to succeed, young woman that's looking to succeed in sports. What is your 30 to 60-second message to her as she tries to navigate her path?
I always say that there isn't a straight path. And so don't be discouraged by, I know so many people now who leave school and say, oh, my dream job is X. And if you don't get X right away, whether it's to work at the NBA or NFL or anywhere else in sports, and if you don't get that right away, you become discouraged. And the truth is, you have to cast a really wide net. You have to be patient with developing your skills and developing your experiences and developing your network. And if you're truly committed to it, the opportunities, I think, are going to be there. But you have to be patient. Be patient with the process. Don't be patient with yourself. Demand a lot of yourself to build those skills. But don't be afraid to work in government. Don't be afraid to work in a nonprofit organization. My path was not all about sports. I worked in government. I worked in nonprofits. Those experiences really helped me develop the skills and create the opportunities that I've been fortunate enough to have. So there isn't any one specific path. So cast a wide net, be patient, drive, build your skills, build your experiences, and try to connect with people along the way. We talk about this all the time too, that like, you can't be it if you don't see it. Well, see it. It's out there. Look for those opportunities and you'll find your path.
You're always so amazing, Kathy. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, Dr. Bryant. Great to be with you. Thank you so much.
Take care.